Welcome to the part 4 of the multi-part series on volume spread analysis. In part 3, we started looking at the various signs of weakness or SOWs. The various SOWs are the buying climax, upthrust bar, the pseudo-upthrust bar, effort to fall bar or effort to move down bar, no demand bar, and the 2-bar reversal. In the last part, we looked in detail the buying climax. Now we will move on to the next sign of weakness, which is the upthrust bar. Okay, this upthrust bar is a bearish or a sign of weakness. It's one of the most common and effective signals. Now let's try to define what is the upthrust bar. Upthrust bar is a widespread bar closing at or near the low. The volume is high. It is about 1.5 times the average volume. It is not an excessively high volume. It is just high volume. It happens after an up move or when the stock moves into a new territory. And most of the time you can see it after a widespread high volume up bar. This is the basic definition of an upthrust bar. Now, how do we interpret this? Here in this bar, the prices are marked up, attracting weak hands to jump in. Normally it is the FOMO effect or the fear of missing out effect. So a lot of weak hands are jumping, thinking the stock is very bullish. Then the prices are rapidly marked down, trapping the weak hands. Generally, this happens after a wide spread up bar with volume, just portraying a picture of great bullishness, so that the weak hands will get attracted. Generally, it marks the end of the current up move. And the retracement from here depends on the background strength or the weakness. Higher the volume of the upthrust bar, the more the weakness. Wider the spread, more the weakness. Lower the close, more the weakness. It is most effective or more effective after a longer trend or a longer up move. Now what do we look for after we see the upthrust bar? So we need to look at the subsequent bars. If the next bar is a down bar, it confirms the weakness. Higher the volume, more profound the weakness. Also, wider the spread, the more profound the weakness. If the next bar is an up bar, the weakness of the upthrust bar is negated. Volume and spread of this up bar will add the strength. And like in buying climax bar, here also the high and low of the upthrust bar gain some significance. And we always need to look at the background strength or weakness, because the subsequent move depends on this a lot. If there is strength in the background, the down move after the upthrust bar will not be much. But if there is already weakness existing in the background, then you can expect a much wider down move after the upthrust bar. Now let's look at some examples. In the first example, I have the chart of the HDFC Bank. I'm using the playback mode to give a better illustration. Now let's see how the further subsequent prices play out. You can see that the movement has been more of sideways. Here we have an attempt to move up. We have a bullish up bar closing at the top a widespread bar. The next bar, if you look at it, it is a widespread bar closing near the low, but the volume is quite high. And this clearly fits the definition of an upthrust bar. We saw that when we see an upthrust bar, we have to look at the background, whether there is strength or weakness, because the effect of the upthrust bar depends on the background strength or weakness. Now, as you can see, the movement has been more of sideways. Of course, there is an attempt to move here, so there is not much of a strength in the background. So let us see if the upthrust bar really has an effect. So I will draw the levels, the high of the upthrust bar and the low of the upthrust bar, since we saw that these levels have some significance. Now let's see how the further prices play out. You can see the movement has been more of sideways, but all these bars are within the shadow of the upthrust bar. The next bar clearly breaks the low of the upthrust bar. Of course, there was some buying here, as you can see by the long tail, but still it broke the low of the upthrust bar. Let's see how the prices play out. Here, there was an attempt to move up back into the shadow, but it failed. And this bar clearly indicates weakness. It was a widespread down bar closing near the low. The weakness is further enhanced. And the prices have moved down. As you can see, the upthrust bar was the point where the up move ended and the prices started coming down. So whoever was holding this stock should have exited at this point when the low of the upthrust bar was broken. So this is a very clear example of an upthrust bar. Now let me add the VPA 5.0. As you can clearly see that the VPA indicates that it is an upthrust bar. So one need not go and look at the various definitions and try to identify the conditions or to identify the various bars. The VPA 5.0 clearly points out the different types of bars. Here is clearly indicated that it is an upthrust bar. In the next example, I have the chart of the Borosil renewables. The prices were moving sideways. I'm using the replay mode again. Let's see how the prices are playing out. Now there is an attempt to move up. A good move up here. Here we have an upthrust bar. So let me magnify it better. So this bar, as you can see, was on high volume and the close was at the lower end, and it happened after a high volume bullish bar. So here the background is very bullish. As you can see, there has been a good up move. The background has been bullish here. Let's see how the further prices play out. Before that, I will draw as the shadow of this bar here, the upthrust bar. Let's see how the subsequent bars play out. This is almost a lower lockdown price. Then we had another bar. We had another upthrust bar and a third upthrust bar. But as you can see, the prices were moving more of sideways rather than down. Prices were moving more of sideways. Here there is an attempt to move back into the supply area of the upthrust bars. Then we had another upthrust bar followed by another upthrust bar, and the prices were moving. Another attempt to get into the supply area. As you can see, the prices were more of sideways rather than down. Because of the background strength, the upthrust bars could not create the bearishness. Instead of that, they capped the higher moment of the prices. It could never move beyond the high of the first upthrust bar, and the movement has been sideways. So here the background on which the upthrust bar is happening is important. As you can see that the result of the upthrust bar has been a sideways move, capping further upward move rather than pushing the prices down. Let's go to the next example. In this example, let's look at an upthrust bar which did not have much effect on the price. So here I have the chart of Reddington. So we'll see how the prices are playing out. The movement has been sideways. It still continues to be sideways. Then we have a bullish up bar followed by another bullish up bar. So the upward move is continuing. Here we have an upthrust bar. So the background is of strength here because there has been a bullish up move. Back to bar up bars were there. Let me draw the high and low of this bar to monitor what is the effect of this upthrust bar. We continue to play out the price. Again, these are small spread bars almost sideways, and then you have a bullish bar taking out the high of the upthrust bar, and here is a small test of the supply area with the upthrust bar, and the stock continued to move up. So this upthrust bar did not have much effect, though it put a temporary pause on the upward movement, but still did not have much effect on the upward movement of the prices. So this is an example where the upthrust bar did not have much effect. You will find the upthrust bar in many places in the stock charts, but once you encounter the upthrust bar, we need to observe with the high and low of the upthrust bars and see the further movement of the prices to determine whether the weakness has come in or strength has manifested. Unfortunately, this upthrust bar is appearing frequently in the charts, so one can only observe the subsequent bars to determine whether it is causing weakness or the strength prevails. Next, let's look at the pseudo-upthrust bar. Now, what is a pseudo-upthrust bar? It is an upthrust bar, but the volumes are lower. It is not as effective as the upthrust bar, but still it is a sign of weakness. Normally it happens in the fringes of previously known supply areas. It rarely happens in a new territory. Let us quickly look into an example of the pseudo-upthrust bar. I have the chart of Reddington, India here. The prices have been moving up and there was a retracement. Let's see how the subsequent prices play out. As you can see, the prices are moving sideways. Now there is an attempt to move up. We have a bullish up bar on higher volume. The next bar, as you can see, has the characteristics of an upthrust bar. It's a widespread bar closing near the low. However, the volume is low here. So we call it the pseudo-upthrust bar. And let's draw the levels here, the high and the low, and observe how the subsequent bars play out. The next bar clearly breaks the low of the pseudo-upthrust bar. The next bar, you can see there was an attempt to move back into the shadow of the pseudo-upthrust bar, but quickly the supply came and pushed it down and it closed just below the open. The next bar is again showing weakness. The next bar is a clear bearish bar, widespread, closing near the low. And you can see the subsequent moves show weakness and the prices have come down. So this bar clearly had the characteristics of an upthrust bar, except that volume was lower, and it indicated the end of an up move and the prices came down. And this could have been the distribution area as well. But it was the pseudo-upthrust bar which raised a flag and told the weakness has come and to be aware of the subsequent moves and take care. So this pseudo-upthrust bar is not as effective as the upthrust bar, but it still is a sign of weakness. So we need to give the same importance which give for the upthrust bar and observe the further price movements to take action. That brings us to the end of this video. Before we close, let's quickly summarize what we learned in this session. The upthrust bar or the UT bar appears frequently across the price structure. But all UT bars need not result in weakness. In many cases, the weakness is quickly overcome and the stock starts moving up. The effect of the UT bar depends on the background strength or weakness. Also, the volume and the spread of the bar affects the intensity of the effect of the UT bar. Higher the volume or higher the spread, the more intense the effect. The pseudo-upthrust bar is not as effective as the UT bar, but still it's a sign of weakness and we need to take care. Always observe the subsequent bars with reference to the high and the low of the UT bar to see if weakness or the strength manifests. In the next part, we will look at the effort to fall or the effort to move down bar in detail. In order to get notified for the release of the future parts or the videos, do subscribe to this channel. And in case you find this video useful, please do press the like button.